My name is Alex, and for many years, I followed every responsible money rule. Yet I always felt financially trapped inside. I saved consistently, invested patiently, avoided reckless spending, and still carried a quiet anxiety about my long-term financial future. If you are watching this video right now, you are probably not lazy, careless, or irresponsible with money either. You likely work hard, earn reasonably well, and still feel retirement drifting farther away no matter how disciplined you are. Before we go deeper, I want to ask you something important, because this channel only works if it truly helps people. If calm, honest conversations about money help you think more clearly, gently like this video so I know to continue. Please leave a comment saying you are here, because reading real comments reminds me real people are listening. And if you want more videos like this, subscribe now so you do not miss future conversations. I am not here to sell shortcuts, secret formulas, or dreams that sound exciting, but collapse under real-life pressure. I am here to share the exact realization that finally made my constant financial anxiety begin to fade away. For a long time, I believed my problem was not enough income, not enough time, or not enough discipline. I kept telling myself that if I stayed patient long enough, everything would eventually work itself out naturally. But deep inside, there was always a quiet fear I tried very hard to ignore. The fear was not working hard. It was working hard forever without ever feeling financially safe. What scared me most was realizing I might be doing everything right, yet moving in the wrong direction. That kind of fear never shows up clearly inside budgets, spreadsheets, or carefully balanced investment accounts. It shows up late at night, when you are alone with your thoughts and uncomfortable unanswered questions. Questions like, what if time does not fix this? And what if I am slowly drifting? That moment forced me to realize my real problem was never effort. It was always order. And once I understood that truth, everything about money, time, and retirement started to look completely different. Gortit. At some point, I realized patience without direction is dangerous, because time amplifies mistakes just as easily as progress does. I watched years pass while my accounts grew slowly, yet my confidence never grew at the same pace over time. That disconnect between effort and progress quietly drains motivation, even when numbers technically move upward for many hardworking people everywhere. I began asking better questions, like whether my strategy matched the life I actually wanted over the next decade ahead. That question forced me to confront an uncomfortable truth about how retirement is commonly misunderstood by most working adults today. Most people imagine retirement as stopping work, but I slowly learned it is really about control over time and choices. When you control your time, work becomes optional, not a prison you fear escaping someday through exhausting countdown years alone. That realization shifted my focus from chasing numbers to building a life with exit options, early, calm, stable, and flexible. But exit options require a different approach than simply saving harder or investing earlier without understanding order risk and behavior. I had to accept that doing more of the same would never create a different outcome for my financial life. Cheers. This is where the idea of order became the most important concept in my financial thinking, moving forward from there. I noticed people who progressed faster were not smarter, luckier, or richer. At the start, they simply acted in sequence. They focused on stability first, momentum second, and leverage only after everything underneath felt solid enough to handle pressure safely. That sequence contradicted everything I had been taught about rushing into investments early without foundations, cash flow buffers, context, or patience. It also explained why so many hardworking people feel burned out, despite following conventional advice that ignores human psychology entirely. Money decisions are emotional long before they become mathematical, and ignoring that creates silent damage inside confidence habits, relationships, and I learned that stress destroys consistency, and consistency is what actually compounds results over time for ordinary people like us. So before talking about acceleration, I needed to understand how to remove constant financial stress from my daily life first. That is when I stopped chasing speed and started designing stability on purpose, with clear rules, boundaries, systems, and habits. Stability did not make me rich, but it finally gave me the clarity to move forward without fear or panic. Most financial stress, I discovered, does not come from low income, but from unpredictable expenses and constant uncertainty everywhere today. When money surprises you, your brain stays in survival mode, making long-term planning almost impossible for most people everywhere today. I realized I could not think clearly about investing while worrying about emergencies, bills, repairs, and income gaps constantly daily. That constant background anxiety quietly sabotages good decisions and pushes people toward shortcuts they later deeply regret, financially, emotionally, personally. So the first thing I had to fix was not returns, investments, or growth. It was stability itself for me. Duizu. Stability meant knowing exactly where my money went, what bills existed, and how long I could breathe without fear daily. It meant building buffers so small problems did not instantly become emotional financial emergencies in my life anymore, unexpectedly, repeatedly. Once stability was in place, my mind finally slowed down enough to think strategically again without panic pressure, fear constantly. This was the foundation layer I now call level 2 in the strategy I am sharing with you today here. Most people skip this step because it feels boring, slow, and unproductive compared to exciting investments they see online everywhere. D'accord. But skipping stability explains why so many people panic, sell, abandon plans, and restart endlessly during market stress cycles repeatedly. I learned that speed only matters after you stop bleeding energy, money, and emotional focus from chaos, uncertainty, fear daily. Without stability, any leverage simply magnifies fear, mistakes, and volatility instead of freedom, control, safety, confidence, peace, clarity, stability long-term. This is why I believe early retirement starts with calm, not courage, risk, or intelligence alone, first always emotionally grounded. Once stability exists, you can finally focus on movement, which brings us to the next layer naturally, with confidence intact. Movement is about cash flow, and cash flow changes how time feels in your life every single working day ahead. When income only comes from one place, progress feels fragile and constantly under threat from layoffs, illness, emergencies, stress cycles. I experienced that fragility personally, and it created a sense of helplessness I could not ignore anymore inside myself mentally. Cash flow changed that because it introduced movement, growth, and feedback into my financial system over time, consistently, predictably, sustainably. With movement, progress becomes visible, and visible progress rebuilds confidence, motivation, and patience naturally, without panic, fear, pressure, doubt anymore. Kirinch. Cash flow does not mean hustling non-stop. It means income that grows without requiring your constant daily presence forever alone. For me, this included skills systems and income streams that could expand slowly while I slept, rested, learned, lived intentionally. This layer was not about becoming rich quickly, but about feeling momentum instead of stagnation every month, moving forward consistently. Momentum changes psychology because when progress is visible, patience becomes easier, and fear loses its power over time naturally again. This is where many people make another mistake by rushing ahead before momentum becomes reliable, stable, predictable enough for leverage. Queen. I made this mistake myself, investing early while my cash flow was still fragile, uneven, inconsistent, emotionally, financially, mentally unstable. That mistake taught me that leverage does not forgive weak foundations. It exposes them violently during stressful market cycles quickly. This brings me to the final layer, the part people love hearing about, but misunderstand deeply without proper context first. Leverage is powerful because it multiplies outcomes, but only after stability and momentum already exist together, consistently over time periods. Used too early, leverage amplifies stress losses and emotional mistakes instead of freedom, security, control, confidence, peace, clarity, balance, resilience. I learned that true acceleration feels calm, boring, and almost underwhelming compared to dramatic, risky shortcuts promoted online everywhere today. When everything underneath is solid, leverage simply becomes a tool, not a gamble for survival anymore. Emotionally, financially, mentally, long-term. This is where the idea of retiring early finally became realistic, believable, and personal for me, without fantasy assumptions attached. Retirement stopped feeling like a finish line and started feeling like an option I could reach, calmly, gradually, intentionally, sustainably. Not because I made more money overnight, but because my system finally worked together, without panic, stress, conflict, friction, fear. TD. This is the part most financial advice skips, because it cannot be sold easily in simple viral headlines online quickly. But it is the difference between peaceful progress and constant anxiety, disguised as ambition drive hustle culture, pressure everywhere today. Once I understood this framework, everything slowed down, yet progress accelerated in a strange, reassuring way, without panic, urgency, fear. I stopped checking numbers obsessively and started trusting my process day after day with patience, clarity, confidence, discipline, structure, intention. That shift prepared me for the final stage where leverage finally works as intended. Safely, predictably, calmly, consistently, long-term, sustainably. This final stage is where many myths exist, so I want to explain it slowly, clearly, honestly, without hype exaggeration. Leverage simply means using tools that multiply effort. Like time capital systems networks, once foundations are strong enough, stable, proven. For me, that meant investing consistently, only after cash flow felt predictable, boring, and emotionally comfortable for long periods repeatedly. It meant trusting compound growth instead of chasing exciting opportunities that promised fast results and dramatic stories online everywhere constantly. This is where the 5-year timeline finally made sense without magical thinking, unrealistic assumptions, or luck involved, required necessary. 5 years is not about speed. It is about alignment, consistency, and removing wasted financial effort through correct sequencing deliberately. When alignment exists, progress compounds faster, because fewer mistakes, distractions, and emotional reactions slow you down over long time horizons. I stopped measuring success by yearly returns and started measuring it by reduced stress and control over my daily life. That change alone improved my decisions, relationships, sleep, and confidence more than any investment strategy ever promised, marketed, sold online. With stability, momentum, and leverage working together, early retirement became a practical option, not a fantasy for ordinary disciplined people. It did not mean quitting work tomorrow. It meant gaining flexibility, negotiating power and peace, gradually, steadily, responsibly over time. This framework helped me stop fearing market news, inflation headlines, and constant financial noise by focusing on controllable systems only. Instead of reacting emotionally, I followed a simple order that guided every financial decision, calmly, consistently, patiently, intentionally, long-term forward. That order is what I call the 2-3-5 money explosion strategy, because it builds power sequentially, sustainably, deliberately. Not explosive in chaos, but explosive in clarity, confidence, control, and compound acceleration over predictable timelines without unnecessary risk exposure. I share this because I wish someone explained it to me earlier patiently, without hype, fear, pressure, confusion, shame, judgment. If you feel stuck despite doing everything right, you are not broken. You likely just lack sequence clarity today yet. In the next part, I will break down this strategy step by step, clearly using simple examples anyone can follow. You do not need advanced finance knowledge, just honesty, patience, and willingness to slow down long-term, consistently, thoughtfully together here. Because once you understand the order, everything else finally starts working with you, instead of against you, every single day. Before diving deeper, I want to slow down and make sure this stays practical, relatable, and usable for real life. So let me start with level 2. Because everything else collapses without this foundation in place over long periods consistently. Level 2 is about stability, not deprivation control, not restriction, clarity, not constant anxiety about your money life, daily decisions. When I lacked stability, every unexpected bill felt like an emergency threatening my entire financial plan and future security constantly. That stress made me overreact, sell early, avoid opportunities, and doubt myself more than necessary during volatile, uncertain periods repeatedly. Portoi. Stability changed that by giving me predictable expenses buffers and breathing room to think clearly about long-term choices calmly. This is why emergency funds, fixed costs, and margin matter more than returns early on in real financial life planning. Once my money stopped surprising me, My nervous system finally stopped panicking every month, allowing better decisions, long-term thinking. That calm is not boring. It is powerful because calm decisions compound much faster over years without emotional mistakes repeated. With stability in place, I could finally move to level 3 without fear or urgency, panic, doubt, pressure, daily stress. Q. Level 3 is about cash flow, which changed how progress felt inside my body, emotionally, psychologically, financially, over time periods. Before cash flow, progress felt invisible, like running on a treadmill going nowhere, despite effort, discipline, consistency, patience, years invested. Cash flow made progress visible because income moved even when markets stalled, jobs changed expenses, fluctuated uncertainty increased temporarily elsewhere. Seeing movement restored my motivation because I could measure advancement monthly, not yearly emotionally, financially, mentally, without waiting decades painfully. This is crucial because humans need feedback to stay disciplined long enough during slow wealth-building processes without quitting early. Cash flow also reduced fear by diversifying income sources beyond one fragile paycheck-dependent job situation entirely alone before previously. That diversification created resilience, which matters more than optimization when life inevitably changes unexpectedly financially, emotionally, professionally, personally, repeatedly over. With stability and cash flow aligned, I finally understood why leverage must come last in any sustainable financial system design. This insight alone saved me years of frustration, mistakes, and unnecessary stress caused by premature investing risk exposure, earlier decisions. In the next section, I will explain leverage simply without jargon so it makes sense to everyone listening right now. Torter. Leverage sounds intimidating, but it simply means using tools that multiply results after foundations are strong and stable long-term. When I used leverage too early, small mistakes became big problems that damaged confidence, finances, and emotional stability quickly, painfully. That experience taught me leverage is neutral. It amplifies systems already in place, good or bad over time, consistently, predictably. This is why stability and cash flow must exist first, so leverage works calmly instead of violently over long periods. Once leverage is applied correctly, growth feels steady, boring, and reassuring rather than stressful, dramatic, or frightening to experience daily. For me, this meant investing automatically, consistently, and patiently, without reacting to headlines, noise, or short-term fear cycles constantly. I focused on simple, diversified strategies supported by long-term data, not exciting stories, social media promises, or speculative narratives. Reliable sources showed patient investors historically outperform emotional traders despite lower excitement. Fewer decisions, mistakes over multiple decades, consistently, measurably. Understanding this removed pressure to chase trends and allowed me to trust my boring process during market cycles without panic. With leverage working properly, 5 years stopped sounding unrealistic and started sounding disciplined, intentional, possible through consistent habits, systems alignment. 5 years is enough to change direction when effort stops leaking, through mistakes, stress, and disorder across finances, behavior, decisions. It is not about predicting markets perfectly, but controlling what you can consistently over time: habits, systems, choices, behavior, discipline. This mindset shift alone reduced anxiety and improved every financial decision I made afterward across saving, spending, investing, planning, priorities. I stopped asking how fast and started asking how stable, sustainable, and repeatable my actions were, daily, weekly, monthly, long-term. That question guided every choice and prevented emotional reactions during inevitable uncertainty, volatility, and setbacks in markets, life, work, health. Thorks. Slowly, my confidence returned not from hope, but from evidence, discipline, and repeated calm decisions over time, daily, consistently applied. That confidence made early retirement feel achievable without sacrificing health, relationships, or peace along the journey toward freedom, balance, stability. It became about designing days intentionally, rather than escaping work desperately at some future age, with options, choice, control, dignity. This perspective is what I want you to take away. Before numbers, charts, details appear later today, together, clearly, calmly. Because understanding comes first. Numbers only matter after mindset and order are aligned with goals, values, behavior systems, habits, consistency. At this point, I want to slow down and speak directly to anyone feeling overwhelmed or behind financially right now. If your first reaction is doubt or fear, that is normal because most of us were never taught order. We were taught to work harder, save more, invest earlier, and hope everything somehow connects later magically. When it does not connect, people blame themselves instead of questioning the system they were given growing up everywhere. I did that for years until I realized confusion is not failure. It is missing structure and guidance. Inikarturi. This strategy is not about perfection. It is about giving yourself a clear path forward without panic. You do not need to change everything at once. You only need to fix the next layer. That alone reduces stress because your brain finally sees a sequence instead of endless random financial tasks. Most anxiety comes from feeling lost, not from numbers or balances themselves over time consistently everywhere. Once direction becomes clear, motivation returns naturally without forcing discipline through fear, shame, pressure, guilt, or comparison. This is why I emphasize calm so much, because calm decisions protect progress during uncertainty, setbacks, volatility, mistakes, life events. If you feel tired of constantly optimizing and still feeling behind, that exhaustion is an important signal. It usually means you are pushing effort where order should exist instead within your financial system. When order replaces chaos, effort suddenly works harder for you, instead of draining energy constantly daily. This realization alone changed how I approached saving, investing, spending, and planning across every area of my life. EQ. I stopped chasing perfection and focused on consistency within the correct layer I was working on. That shift protected my confidence even during setbacks, because setbacks no longer felt like personal failures. They felt like normal data points within a system designed to handle pressure and uncertainty long term. This is the emotional difference between surviving financially and actually building freedom with intention, patience, and clarity. In the final section, I want to help you translate this into your own life practically. Q-Chord. I want you to pause and honestly ask yourself which layer you are currently standing on right now. Not where you wish you were, but where your money and behavior actually are today in reality. If stability is missing, focus there first without shame comparison or rushing toward exciting opportunities prematurely. If stability exists but progress feels slow, cash flow is likely the missing piece needing attention. And if both stability and cash flow are solid, leverage finally becomes a tool instead of a threat. This simple self-assessment can immediately reduce stress because confusion is replaced with a clear next step. Clarity creates calm, and calm allows you to make better decisions consistently over long periods. You do not need to solve your entire financial future today, only the next logical problem. That mindset alone makes 5 years feel manageable instead of overwhelming, frightening, distant, or impossible to reach. Progress compounds when small correct actions repeat within the right layer, month after month, patiently. This is how ordinary people quietly build extraordinary freedom without dramatic risks or constant anxiety. I am sharing this because I believe peace is a valid financial goal, not just wealth. Money should reduce stress, not constantly create new reasons to worry or feel behind. When your system supports you, life feels lighter even before numbers dramatically change on paper. That is the real promise of this approach. Not instant riches, but lasting emotional relief. Early retirement becomes a byproduct of stability, momentum, and leverage working together naturally over time. It stops being a dream and starts becoming an option you can see forming clearly. And options change how you show up at work, relationships, and daily life emotionally, mentally. You stop feeling trapped and start feeling capable, calm, intentional, and in control again. That feeling is worth more than any flashy strategy promising shortcuts without foundations or patience. Before we end, I want to thank you for staying and thinking deeply about your financial life today, together calmly. If this conversation resonated, liking the video quietly helps this channel reach others who need clarity and calm guidance too. Leaving a comment also helps me understand where you are and what topics would help you most right now today. If you want more long, thoughtful videos like this, subscribing ensures you see future discussions here, calmly, clearly, consistently together. I will continue sharing practical calm frameworks that prioritize peace, stability, and progress over hype, fear, noise, pressure cycles online. Remember, you are not late, broken, or behind. You are simply learning the right order now with patience, clarity today. Focus on stability, then momentum, then leverage, and let time finally work with you. Consistently, calmly, safely, intentionally, long-term together. 5 years can change everything when your system stops fighting you and starts supporting you consistently, calmly, sustainably, long-term forward. That is how early retirement becomes possible without sacrificing health, relationships, or peace along the way. Together, calmly, sustainably, intentionally. Thank you for spending this time with me, and I will see you in the next video very soon here. Until then, take care of yourself, and remember, progress feels quiet before it feels obvious to most people everywhere initially. Quiet progress is still progress, and it compounds when protected by patient structure and consistency, daily, calmly, intentionally, long-term together. I hope this gave you clarity, confidence, and a sense of direction you can trust moving forward, steadily, calmly, always. Clarity is the first step toward freedom, and you took that step by watching today with intention, courage, patience, care. I appreciate you more than you know, and I do not take your attention lightly, ever, truly, deeply, sincerely here. Q. Let us continue building calm, strong financial lives together. One correct layer at a time, patiently, intentionally, sustainably, long-term forward. I will keep showing up here to guide you through this process. Honestly, carefully, calmly, consistently, thoughtfully, step by step. Because no one should feel lost with money when clarity and structure are possible for everyone today, patiently, calmly together. Take what fits your life. Ignore what does not. And move forward with confidence, calmly, steadily, intentionally, without rush, fear. I will see you next time, and until then, remember, order turns effort into freedom through patience, clarity, systems, consistency.